professional record is 14-2 with 9 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Atomic Bull, Oliver McCall.
And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the white trunks and weighing 242.5 pounds. His professional record is 26 victories, 17 by KO, only 4 defeats and 1 draw. Ladies and gentlemen, from Columbus, Ohio, ranked number 2 in the world by the IBF, James Buster Douglas.
Hey, McCall, how do I get Royce? Listen, I want to clean fire, okay? What is that pet peeve I got when
I don't find the talk back here. That's why I'm, oh, I did, oh. Got it.
Larry, the incarnation of the name is obscured by the number of different versions of the story which have been told. Should we be calling this, Don? You're watching round 1. Oliver McCall against James Buster Douglas. The fight is regarded as important in Douglas's career because an impressive performance could springboard him toward a meeting with Mike Tyson. He is one of a variety of different opponents who have been discussed as potential challengers to Tyson the next time around, and somewhere on the way to
break, step back.
See Tyson Evander Holyfield. Now he faces off against McCall, the Atomic Bull, a former Tyson sparring partner.
And Douglas came out like he was inspired by the previous fight in which Jose Revolta, who also had been mentioned as a next Tyson opponent, won a lackluster decision and had to come off the canvas to do it. So obviously Douglas can do himself a lot of good here if he can do something impressive.
Buster Douglas is trained right now by Rich Giacchetti, and who you will associate with the long and star career of Larry Holmes. And like Holmes, Ray Leonard, Buster starts with the jab in most of his work.
Buster Douglas is a big heavyweight, and 242.5 pounds, that's a lot of weight for a heavyweight. He carries it fairly well because of the structure of his body. I'm looking at his opponent, Atomic Bull, and normally fighters have the ring name, which is synonymous with their style.
Right, step back.
And thus far, McCall has not been the aggressive bull.
There is McCall coming in behind the jab.
McCall, Jim, McCall is a guy who frequently gave Tyson his best workouts. And he's one of those guys who's a gym fighter. He just fights well in the gym, but somehow when the bell rings in the arena, he doesn't perform.
Step back.
Well, McCall bears a little bit of a face and body resemblance to Joe Frazier, but it pretty much stops there.
So we can say that nobody knows the real truth about how the truth goes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, you know, I read one instance where somebody said to him, you know, there's so many stories about this that we don't know which one is true, and he said, yeah, but I'm about to tell you the truth. And then he told yet another story, which was that it had to do with Ray Leonard.
Yeah, he was just telling me that, right.
What the guys around the neighborhood say Ray Leonard was the real truth. Round 2 of Buster Douglas against Oliver McCall. Douglas beginning now to show the jab a little bit more than was the case in round 1, which was a little bit of a brawling round.
McIntyre's trying to establish that jab. He threw a sharp right hand a second ago and sort of surprised McCall, if anything.
Douglas is a plodding fighter who has difficulty looking spectacular. A year ago, he was put into this ring on the undercard of Tyson Spinks.
Right, step back,
with
step back.
a sculpted body god out of Houston named Mike Williams. It was expected to be a step up for Williams toward heavyweight contention, and Douglas easily defeated him, working behind the jab. That was a big step forward for him.
My recollection, Jim, is he knocked him down with the jab several times.
So that indicates other being a big man versus normal. Some of these heavyweights able to put a guy down with the left jab. I think some of us are one of the guys that could do that.
In fact, Larry Holmes once did it in a championship fight.
Right, step back, step back.
Douglas is the son of a fighter who was Billy Douglas, who was a pretty good middleweight and welterweight way back in the 50s and 60s.
Let him go around that neck.
I would say a better middleweight and light heavyweight than his son is. But his son is maybe on the verge of getting his second shot at a heavyweight title. Remember that he fought Tony Tucker for the IBF heavyweight title that had been vacated voluntarily by Michael Spinks. And he was leading that fight and got stopped in around the 10th round, as I read.
Ran out of gas. That's right.
All right, let me have it. Stop punching, stop punching.
I heard he had a hot roll and a dice table. And he couldn't leave.
Let him go.
And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to this lovely round card lady. This is Angela. Let's give her a hand.
Buster Douglas against Oliver McCall. Douglas trying to be impressive enough to enhance his credentials for a possible title shot against Mike Tyson.
Well, the heavyweight division is wide open for candidates to fight Tyson. And Douglas is very aware that looking impressive here may
well, in fact, there is one man, though, that the public most wants to see against Tyson. And if you look across to the far side of the ring, to camera right at the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see him. He's sitting next to Donald Trump. Probably no coincidence there. His name is Evander Holyfield.
Right, step back, step
Well,
back,
Trump
step back.
has an option on that fight, which means...
Off the neck.
Okay.
Look at it. Right, step back. Don't wrestle in there, guys. I told you before.
Right.
Let him go. Let him go.
Okay.
Yeah, and Trump, I'm sure Trump's lawyers believe he has an option on the fight.
Yeah. He has an $11 million, approximately 11 or $11.5 million, which is what he paid for the Spinks fight as an option. According to Kate, all that means is anybody out there can beat it if they want to beat it. You know. Well, Caton told me differently, but maybe you're right.
Come on out. You guys are pressing. Let's block.
Larry Holmes just came in. So if the truth doesn't show up, we can always put Larry in. Seconds to go in round 3 between Buster Douglas and Oliver McCall. We've had a scintillating call in this fight. I'm sure all of you have enjoyed the continuity that we've brought to it. And now, between rounds, an HBO special effect, singularly identified with Ross Greenberg's boxing telecast, The Corners.
Sponge. Give me a sponge.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Sunday, July 30th, right next door. At the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, big afternoon of boxing. That's Sunday, July 30th. The featured bout will be WBA junior middleweight champion of the world, Julian Jackson, as he takes on the #1 contender, ranked by the IBF #1. That's Terrible Terry Norris of San Diego, California.
You've just heard the dulcet tones of Richie Giacchetti returning to Douglas's corner for Giacchetti, who was absent because of some dispute, probably over money, in at least his last fight, and maybe one other. And Douglas looked so bad in that fight while winning a very lackluster decision
Against Burbick.
It was against Burbick. I didn't remember that. Jim.
Yeah.
That,
we will eventually.
He's here signing a contract while here, and he didn't have time to
get involved.
Come on out. Stop punching.
It seems to me that Buster Douglas wants to get McCall out of there because it's become a tougher fight than was expected. Buster Douglas knows to count much more. An inside fighter as opposed to using step jab. Punch what he specializes in.
Yeah, but in becoming so aggressive, Ray, he's giving McCall a chance to counter, and McCall has tagged him a couple times inside with counter punches.
Well, that's normally the case, Jim, when you're tired. You resort more so to fight inside as opposed to moving.
Now, Larry, can we take Giacchetti's return to Douglas's corner as an indication that Rich has given up any chance of becoming Mike Tyson's trainer?
Well, you know, if you're around this game long enough, so many changes happen that nothing is impossible. There was a time when he appeared to be the front runner to replace Kevin Rooney, but Tyson didn't want him. He wanted somebody who was familiar with his style and with somebody who came down in the line from Customado, and so he rejected Giacchetti, who has worked with several of Don King's fighters, and of course best known for his work with Larry Holmes.
Right now, Oliver McCall is making a little bit of a name for himself as he continues to give Buster Douglas trouble in round number 4.
been left in these 4 rounds that neither of these fellows can fight a lick.
40 points on Harold Letterman's scorecard so far. Perhaps on his way to a Letterman shutout. And round 5 begins. Buster Douglas in white, Oliver McCall in black and red. And of course, Ray Leonard, what Buster would really like here is an impressive knockdown, particularly since Revolta struggled in the preceding bout.
Well, what Douglas would like to see actually is that McCall accommodate him and then allow him to knock him out. But with McCall, he needs to be a little bit more aggressive, because being the smaller man, the shorter man, he needs to be inside as opposed to trying to box Douglas from the outside, because you see what's happening here is Douglas is just using his left jab, getting closer, and trying to set him up for that right hand.
Between rounds, Rich Giacchetti told Douglas that he wasn't waiting enough on his punching opportunities.
A lot of times, fighters have a tendency, and I'm no exception, to wait for one big punch. But the key in boxing is to set each punch up, because a knockout just doesn't happen. You need to set it up. The left jab is the key punch, the key weapon for a boxer.
And now you see Douglas working behind the left jab, 2 at a time. Now a third one that gets in solidly, and he's beginning to assert clear dominance over McCall midway through round 5.
Well, you'll notice also that Douglas, as long as he uses his left jab, he's able to score very well. When he resorts to fighting inside, then it becomes susceptible to be hit and countered by McCall.
McCall firing wildly, but he did land 1 solid body punch as he backed away from Douglas. Douglas alternately working behind the jab or just leaning on McCall with that big body, 246 pounds.
He's weighed as little as 225, and I don't know if they want him as beefy as this for a purpose.
You notice McCall is just waiting for Douglas to throw a punch, and a lot of times Douglas doesn't take advantage of the opportunity. You see McCall's hands are starting to drop to his side. His punches are more telegraphed now, more lounging, more roundhouse punches as opposed to straight shots to get the proper leverage.
Right.
So you may hear the during the rest period that Douglas is going to tell tell him that his opponent is tired, so pick up the tempo.
There you go.
Indeed, the Tyson camp, when McCall was a sparring partner, loved the 1 or 2 rounds of intense aggression he would throw at the champ. They always said that McCall would begin to wear down in the 3rd round of sparring against Tyson, as most of us would, I'm sure.
I'll say this, comparing Douglas and Revolta, that Douglas is obviously putting more effort in it. He's obviously trying to make.
Come on now, go to work. All right? Work hard.
I tell you to break. I want you to break when I tell you to break. Box.
Well, you saw the connect percentage for Buster Douglas in that last round, indicating he had landed 69% of his punches, so the jab is becoming increasingly accurate. And McCall gets wilder as Douglas gets more accurate.
Work at it, Aaron.
In round 6.
Work at it. Break. Step back. Step back. Let him go. Let him go.
There is signs of desperation more so in McCall. He's just attempting everything. He's trying to land that lucky punch. And a lot of times that lucky punch doesn't land too often. He needs to establish his jab or basically work inside.
That's why they call them lucky punches.
Right.
If it lands, you're lucky. You know, for a really big man, this is always baffling to people who are new to the sport, right? For a really big man, Buster doesn't have knockout power. He does not seem to be able to hurt a man with one punch.
Well, if you notice the way he executes his punches, he comes off of his foot, whereas the power is in the leverage. It's the way you twist your body. It's like a swivel. And a lot of times, these big guys punch is more so arm punches. Right. It's in the hip.
The hips, the legs.
It's everything. It's just being down there. Like, that's why Tyson's so strong. He gets his hip, his waist, his thighs, his arm.
I think the same thing is true of a guy hitting a baseball or even a tennis ball. It's not how hard you swing. It's how you synchronize getting your whole body into it at the exact right moment.
It's the timing, the velocity of the punch, and the stroke, or what have you. Currently, some of the heavyweights don't have that.
Now there's a huge demonstration of fan enthusiasm on the far side of the ring as some celebrity comes into the arena. And for the moment, we're going to cast our attention completely away from Buster Douglas and Oliver McCall and try to figure out who's coming in. In fact, I, Jim Lampley, am considering standing on my chair in mid-round. We get a glimpse of this, and it is Don and Melanie. Yes, it's Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, ladies and gentlemen. They are in the arena, so let the festivities begin. Melanie, who has brought a new dignity to the notion of pregnancy. And Don, of course, who has brought new dignity to the notion of the 5 o'clock shadow.
Come on out, come on out, come on out, come on out.
It's a good move out. Well, we'll have to defer to a higher authority on that subject.
The tabloids.
Put it in the pre-fight. Round 7 begins between Oliver McCall and Buster Douglas amid the hoopla surrounding the entrance of Don Johnson, Dennis Hopper.
Come on now. Right. Step back. Step back.
A cut on the front of his nose. Yeah, let's see it. Because we are tired of watching Buster Douglas and Oliver McCall.
I want to know one thing. Is he still wearing his sunglasses?
Okay.
Right. Right. Let me have
A bit of a wake up.
Come on, let's work with that. Right. Step back.
The Atomic Bull. AB, Atomic Bull.
I not only have no idea what that means, I have no curiosity to find out.
Right.
It seems to me that when Mike Tyson was fighting, and we often have abbreviated fights, that we're owed, the crowd is owed, really, not us, but the crowd is owed some interesting prelims, action-filled prelims.
And it seems to me that we haven't been getting them.
In due time. In due time.
Yes, there you go.
Maybe this means we'll get an action-packed main event.
Good deep breaths.
I'll tell you, there's a significant difference in the quality of Don Johnson's seat. Fight the man. Ladies and gentlemen, fight the man. Hey! How you doing, Vince? How you doing, Vince? I'm fine. Good to see you. How are you? Good. I'm still working in this business.
Something very interesting from McCall's corner. They say, you can lose this fight, fight the man it beats.
That's Oliver McCall's corner?
Yes.
You know, that was good advice.
Lose with integrity. That was a good right hand by McCall.
Get out there.
Didn't do too much damage to Douglas.
No, but he stepped across and threw it with conviction.
I think if Douglas just poured on right now, he would be far more effective.
Go hard at it, eh?
Just go for it.
3 rounds to go. Douglas has improved his stamina since the loss to Tony Tucker in the IBF Championship box-off. Right now, Douglas appears a little tight. Can't seem to really get loose with the full assault. Short with that right hand.
All right, break. Step back. Step back. Come on, guys, huh? We'll take points away pretty soon.
Across the ring and out of our camera's sights, Don Johnson. Don Johnson watches the fight with the intense crystal vision of a seasoned boxing fan.
Let me have it.
Quiet night in Atlantic City. Out on the boardwalk, guys and dolls stroll amiably toward their next date's destiny. Here in the convention center, Carl, the Truth Williams, prepares to face the real truth. And at the end of round 8, Oliver McCall twice stings Buster Douglas to the body.
Time right there.
Advice to Oliver McCall is to fight as round 9 begins.
There's not too much more you can tell a fighter at this point, at this stage in the fight, but go in there and do something. And McCall's corner is more so concerned about how he will be looked upon at the end of this 10-rounder. Did he put up a fight? Did he try? Or was he in there just to survive?
Well, he's going to absorb the 3rd defeat of his career, barring a turnaround. He was placed in here as an opponent to Buster Douglas, who's being given a chance of perhaps moving on to fight Mike Tyson. And a guy like McCall, who spent a lot of time around the Tyson camp, has no illusions. He knows what his role is.
Well, that's what happens. They get this mentality, this training mentality, and basically they're in there just to work.
It takes a rare breed to overcome that mentality and turn themselves into the center of attention rather than the other way around, right, Greg?
Well, nobody just happens to be allowed to check. That always helps. It makes a difference. But working out with Mike Tyson is steady pay. That's been the case here.
Tyson's sparring partners get $2,000 a week. Hard work, decent money.
wrestle. Still wrestle. Wrestle around. Let's block. Should be in shape. Let's go. Work at it. Work at it. Don't hold. Work at it. Here you go. Work at it.
Boy, do we ever. The good news is this is round 9 of 10. Could you believe it? He was stretched to 10 rounds last night by Clarence Bigfoot White. He said he wanted a rematch.
This is the 10th and final round. Let's have a round of applause for Oliver McCall and James Buster Douglas.
Round 10 begins by punch stack computations. Buster Douglas has landed 61% of his jabs through the first 9 rounds of the fight. So he has been accurate with the jab as billed. Here's the last chance for McCall to make some kind of a mark.
Yes, we have made mention of it. Well, unfortunately, stamina has never been a problem for Mike Tyson's opponents.
Break. Step back. Let's go. Step back.
Not required.
This was a fight-off between Revolta and Douglas. I'll say this. Douglas hasn't beaten McCall tonight. He was beaten Revolta.
That's right. That was the fight he had to win. And he has won it in unspectacular fashion. Big moment of the night. Revolta floored by Jeff Sims.
I'll say this for the integrity of boxing. You know, Jeff Sims and McCall were thrown in here, and as you say, they may know what was expected of them, Jim. But Sims went out and went all out, and they have ruined the opportunity of Revolta.
And McCall is still throwing. Still trying.
And this guy has come out here and he's got his best. So be it.
That's what happens when you don't expect too much from these fighters here. All of a sudden, they can't play this game.
And neither McCall nor Sims is going to wind up having spent any of the evening on his duff. Both going to stand up for 10 rounds.
Right.
And it kind of excites you about the heavyweight division, doesn't it?
Intrigues me.
Hello.
If indeed these two guys would have fallen down and been beaten, you know, the skeptics probably would have wondered about.
Sellout crowd chanting Buster. Yeah, now's the time to do it.